All right, welcome back to Speed Truth Sports. This is Bert. I'm here with Sparsh, and today we are discussing some NBA stuff. So, there's a new proposed rule change, according to Shams Surani. That's where we're getting this news from. Sparsh, do you want to talk about it? What the rule change is supposed to be?
Sure. So basically, yesterday, as of this recording on September 13th, Shams tweeted out sources: the NBA Board of Governors will vote this month to approve the coach's challenge being the lone method to review out-of-bounds calls with under 2 minutes left in the games, meaning out-of-bounds plays will no longer be automatically triggered for officials. And he subtweeted this after, and he said, this will eliminate the prolonged stoppages that occur at times late in NBA games. So that's what he tweeted out as of yesterday.
Yeah, so basically, in the last 2 minutes of the game, out of bounds plays are usually always reviewed by the refs, but this proposed rule change would change that so that you have to use a coach's challenge if you want that to be reviewed. Otherwise, they're just going to go with the ruling on the floor. I mean, I think this has pros and cons. I think a pro is obviously it speeds up the last 2 minutes of the game, which was a big issue in the Suns series.
Dude, it was like, I believe it was like game 2 or game 3, but the last 2 minutes of the game took 33 minutes in real time. I remember, watching that game with you, and it was just like, dude, when is this ever gonna end, man? It's just, and the thing that was also so weird about those last 2 minutes, I mean, I don't know if you saw like Skip Bayless the next day, but he was like, oh my God, they just like totally messed up with that call. They got rigged for the Suns, and it's just sort of like, yeah, I mean, when you're reviewing these kind of calls, it's just, it becomes a lot more sort of controversial because it's like, it's there and like the fans are all being able to see it. But, one of the biggest cons that I've sort of like drawn from this sort of tweet is that, okay, so the coach's challenge has to be used in this, but like there's been a pretty big sort of history. I believe like every NBA fan sort of just knows it's like, it just sort of happens to like every team where like the refs always just happen to make some sort of mistake in like the last 2 minutes, especially when it's sort of out of bounds. When they release that, final minute report or whatever, it's always like, oh, yeah, well, we missed a call. And it's usually like the majority of those calls are usually, oh yeah, we actually missed this sort of out of bounds play that happened. So it's like the use of like those coaches challenges, if this does pass through, this is definitely going to be a lot more likely to happen, mostly because, like these out of bounds calls are like really hard to notice, right? Especially, even if it's just like a marginal, like, toe or heel sort of on the line, right? That's really hard to notice, especially if you're from the bench and you're looking, to the other side of the court, right? So it's just like the coach's challenge is like really vulnerable at that moment.
Yeah, I mean, one argument you can make is that it kind of devalues the second half's coaching challenge because now they kind of have to keep it unless something egregious happens. They kind of have to keep it for the last 2 minutes just in case something like that happens. And so now you might see a lot less coaching challenges come out before the last 2 minutes of the game. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure how to feel about this. I'd have to see it implemented to really know the implications of it. But you're right. I feel like there's going to be a lot of missed calls. But at the same time, like fans have been complaining so much. The NBA is just trying to fix the fans' complaints. They're trying to help the people out because they've been complaining so much about the last few minutes of the game taking forever. And it's a valid point. It's a very valid argument. I'm just not sure if this is the way to fix it. Exactly.
Yeah, because the thing is, dude, it's just like, when you're looking at sort of the fans and then the refs, right? The NBA fan base has been sort of so divided with like the NBA officials. I'm not really too sure like what has been sort of going on with like the refs and stuff. I honestly feel that, some of the rules do need some sort of revision. And they, like they're implementing some new changes, this year, especially, like how the offensive fouls are drawn, etc. But it's just like a lot of these calls are like also so inconsistent, right? There's no sort of like standard with how these calls are made. That divides fans. But then again, like these last 2 minutes of like literally every single game, like it drags on for so long. And I can totally understand, like the business perspective, people will just lose interest in those last 2 minutes. I mean, yeah, they want to stay, but it's just like if you're spending 33 minutes to watch something that's happening like 2 minutes of like actual game time, then it's an absolutely like sort of like boring process, because like the amount of time that they spend reviewing on it, it's just absolutely like it bores me out to be honest. And it really takes away from like the intensity of those final moments of the game, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to an extent, it can build intensity if it's a really if it's a review that'll really change the game. Mm-hmm. But if it's like a game that's like already almost decided and they're just going through it, it's like we just gotta go home at this point. But at the same time, like I'm not sure how they could remedy this while keeping Coach's Challenge still valuable before the last 2 minutes, because I brought up the idea before we recorded that maybe, I'm not sure if this is a dumb idea or not, but maybe they could introduce another Coach's Challenge within the last 2 minutes for each coach. And if you had one before, that one you just keep that one. But if you don't have one before, if you used it before, you just get another one to use in those last 2 minutes just in case. But the fact that we have to talk about like this and Coach's Challenges and all that stuff, like the refs need to be better.
Like, it's just
refs.
It's terrible,
better,
man.
If the refs were better, we wouldn't even need Coach's Challenges, right?
Yeah, so, I mean that's the reason why they were sort of brought up in that first place, because I mean the officiating has just been absolutely like terrible these past few years. And I mean, I like that sort of idea that you present, but it's just like, what if you never really needed to use a challenge until those final 2 minutes, right? Then you'll have one challenge for the entire game, whereas another team might have two. And then I was just also thinking about this as you were talking, and it's just like, okay, what if you win a challenge, right? And then you get to keep that challenge if the game is literally within like 1 or 2 possessions, right? I don't know. It's so hard to tell, because like the magnitude of the game is so different in those last 2 minutes, especially depending on the amount of possessions that you have, right? Because the last 2 minutes of the game, it's already such a big deal, with like the foul and like, getting the team to the bonus and, getting the other guys at the free throw line. It's literally like you foul them within like 1 or 2 seconds, and it's like the ball's already at the other side of the court. You shoot 2 free throws, and it's just like, okay, with the style of the play that there is in the NBA, they usually go for like some sort of fast transition play or a three to hopefully get that lead down. It's like the game's already long enough in those final 2 minutes anyways, right? So it's just like, does this coaching change really sort of make a big difference in the end? Because like the game already becomes so long in those final 2 minutes anyways, especially when it's within 1, 2, maybe even 3 possessions, right? We've seen teams come down from like 10 plus within like the last 2 minutes. Like it can happen, especially based on the foul system in the NBA. It's just like, I don't know. I don't really know how much this is actually going to help. And I feel like this is something that could cause, honestly, some more like division sort of in the fan base, as they see these calls. I mean, it's already bad enough with the ref officiating, right? I mean, it's not even that like they're consistently bad. It's just like there's just some sort of like weird standards, like how they call these plays. It's sort of different between other superstars in the NBA compared to like the other lower rotation guys, right? You definitely notice some sort of discrepancy between how these plays are called. So I mean, I don't know how to really feel about this.
Yeah, I think it's going to cause the most controversy to players and teams, because they'll be like, why are we being punished for the ref's mistakes when we use it? If we use a challenge earlier in the game because the ref messed up when we win it, why are we punished in the last 2 minutes by not being able to review some stuff? I think maybe a solution could be that in the final 2 minutes, any out of bounds play is reviewable, but only upon either request and approval from the refs, or confusion. If there's any confusion among the refs, then they can review it. I don't see why it has to be mandatory, and I also don't see why it has to be completely unmandatory unless challenged.
Okay. Yeah, and there was just something that I just also thought about too. Like, what does this mean in overtime, right? It's just like, okay, so if you use that in your final 2 minutes of just regulation play, full 48 minutes, final 2 minutes of the quarter, do you get another sort of challenge if this game goes into overtime? And if this game does go into overtime, when are you able to sort of use that challenge again? Because you could also say like those last 5 minutes are also, it's anything could change within those 5 minutes, especially when you have players already gassed out, running across the court for like 48 minutes, and you can easily see like runs, like really like lopsided runs. I mean, that usually happens a lot in the overtime. It's really common to see 14-2, other 10-8 runs kind of there, right? And it's just like, what do you do about the overtime? It's because it doesn't really seem like a lot of thought was put into this yet, because then what does it mean after, right? Because I mean, anything could change in that period too.
Yeah, I'm not sure about OT, but I do know they can only throw challenges within the first 3 minutes of overtime. They'll probably keep the same rule for the last 2 minutes of overtime, I would imagine, but I have no idea. I mean, that's all I got on this.
I mean, that's all for me as well. I don't know what I can see good coming out of this. I mean, they're gonna have to create some sort of standard or some sort of other bonus sort of option. But I from what we've sort of discussed right now, if anybody happens to come up with some other idea, I mean, feel free to just let us know, right? Because I'm honestly kind of stuck and trying to figure out what other solution the NBA can sort of make around this.
Yeah, to speed up games near the end of the final 2 minutes. Yeah, I mean, that's all we got. So thank you for watching Speech of Sports. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Comment down below any solutions you have to this problem of the NBA that the NBA has. And once again, this has been Bert.
And this is Sparsh. Take it easy.
And we'll catch you guys next time. Thank you for watching.
See you later.